Hi, I'm Jim Knotts, President and CEO of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Fund. Welcome to today's virtual reading of the names. 2022 marks the 40th anniversary of the dedication of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C. As part of our commemoration, we'll host an in-person reading of the names at the wall from November 7th through 10th, 2022, when all 58,281 names on the wall will be read aloud. In the lead up to that event, we'll be reading names each day online while sharing the photos of these heroes. For our daily virtual reading, the names of the service members will be read by month and day of death between the years 1956 and 1975 in alphabetical order for the given day. We apologize in advance for any mispronunciations. Know that our readers are doing their best to honor these service members. We hope you'll listen and watch each day and share with others as we remember and honor those who gave their lives during the Vietnam War.
John Michael Acosta, Louis Victor Albee, Jr., Donald Eugene Allen, Jr., Diego Amador, Fui Futuaya Amasone, Ronald S. Athanasiou, Samuel Hoyt Barnett, Glenn Robert Barnhill, James Charles Balmer, Paul Melvin Beddoe, Jr., Larry Dwayne Beebe, Paul Robert Bellamy, Joe Leslie Biffle, Jr., Lawrence Edward Bissonnette, Larry Dean Boyer, Theodore Brown, Jr., Curtis Burke Bugger, Victor Walker Bullard, Jr., David Roy Burgess, John Kenneth Childers, Keith Allen Christofferson, Bruce Allen Clark, Eckel W. Colston, Jr., Paul Rex Combs, Eugene Ogden Conley, John Gennaro Contreras, George Grady Cooper, Bobby Wayne Corzine, Reese A. Critchfield, Jr., Michael Douglas Cruitt, James Huey Davenport, Melvin Gilmore Davis, Claude Albert Davis, Marvin Merle Dix, Michael G. Donovan III, Albert Barcenas Doyle, Thomas Edward Drawn, Terrence Lee Drea, Jimmy Lynn Dunnigan, Stephen Michael Dudinsky, James Thomas Egan, Jr., Merle Clayton Eicher, Jr., Jerry W. Elliott, Albert Evans, Michael George Fouts, Eugene Thomas Fraley, Stephen David Francis, Herbert Ernest Frenzel, Larry John Fitzgerald, Thomas Mark Gaither, Daniel Patrick Gallagher, Larry Wayne Gardner, Ronald Millard Garrison, Eddie Gilbert Gay, Gary Bernard Gerke, Alton George Gibson, Marvin Arthur Gies, Eugene Thomas Glowacki, Pedro Acevedo Gonzalez, Frank Michael Greer, Gerald Lloyd Habecker, William Elmer Haggard, Terry Neal Hardig, Stephen Louis Helwig,
Jimmy Dale Hessen, Russell Howard Hewitt Jr., Billy David Hill, Jerry Franks Hogan, Henry Emil Holder Jr., Robert Hersley, Terry Melvin Johnson, Billy Charles Jones, Seymour Dan Jones, Clifton Randall Jones, William Archie Jones Jr., Dale Leonard Cagebean, Gregory Scott Carger, Roger Eugene Key, William Arthur Kimsey Jr., Thomas Lloyd Kingston, John Wallace Knight, James Richard Knox, Raymond Joseph Kruckelberg, John Curtis Kroger, Kenneth Richard Kroller, Gordon Lee Lawrence, Jimmy Wilson Lassane, Eugene James Levickus, Johnny Lomas, George Lowe, Milo George Moz, Harry Curtis Mahoney Jr., Peter Martinez, Robert Edwin Matson, Floyd Sanford McCreary, Terrence W. McFarland, Harold F. McCaha, Gerald Leroy McKenzie Jr., Richard Lewis Metcalf, Ken E. McCloskey, Morris Calvin Miles Jr., James Leroy Miller, Harry J. Miller, Malcolm Jeffrey Mull, Stephen William Mull, Joseph James Malloy, Thomas John Moody, Joseph Lee Moore, Billy Eugene Moore, Larry Donald Murray, Vernon Lee Nelson, Norman James Nobles, Edgar Irwin Neschke, William Wayne O'Neill, Charles Leslie Parker Jr., Hardy Winston Peoples, John David Frederick Pies, James Holland Porter, Bartow Wesley Potts Jr., Michael Anthony Radziecki, Charles James Ramsey, John Charles Wright Wisner, Thomas Howard Richalt, Antonio Reyes, Thomas Vernon Rhodes, Mariano Rebelaya Jr., Melvin Lewis Rimmel, Ernest Eugene Rich,
Scott James Roderick, David Thomas Roselle, Robert Hoyt Ruggles, Charles Terry Russell, Jerome Robert Sane, Joseph Philip Simo, Ray Laverne Sharp, James Lloyd Siren, Joseph John Slifka Jr., Terrence Glenn Smith, James William Spivey, Jerry Oscar Steinberg, John Bonet Stiza, Victor Bernard Stribling, Carrie Lamont Taylor, Alva Ray Terrell, William Joseph Thompson, Louis Wesley Travers, Manuel Veludo Trevino, Donald John Turner, Ronnie Gordon Vaughn, Elliot Velez Rodriguez, John Wesley Voles, Neely Clarence Walker, Louis John Wandler, Bobby West, Michael James White, Larry Frederick White, Richard Daniel Weir, James Joseph Wiley, John Lester Wilhelm, William N. Williamson, Charles Michael Yates,